There are 4 main rules that you need to apply to take your melodies from this to this. And let's face it, if you don't have a good melody, your track sucks. Oh, but making melodies is confusing and I don't like making melodies. This is something I struggled with for like the first 2 years of me actually beginning to produce my own music. So I'm going to give you no BS value on how you can take your melodies to the next level, guaranteed. Alright? Let's get into it. I'm not going to waste your time. The number one thing that is going to take your melodies to the next level is applying a question and answer structure, okay? This right here is number one. I'm going to elaborate on what this is later. The second thing is just rhythm. Very simple. Question and answer and rhythm are going to kind of correlate with each other. You'll see that in just a bit. Now, the next thing is very, very obvious and it's been right in front of you all this time. The next rule is repetition. I hope I spelled that right. Now here's the thing, repetition reinforces memorability. You want to have just the right amount of repetition so that your audience can remember the melody without it getting boring. The final rule is just variation, and that is how we make sure that the repetition doesn't get boring, right? We just variate it a little bit. All of these 4 things right here, this is the complete blueprint to making catchy melodies. These are the fundamentals. So let's apply them right now. So the first thing we need to do obviously is to create some bass notes. You want to do this before creating the melody because this is going to serve as a guideline when we're actually writing it. Just do something like that and then we can also repeat it. So let's apply the first rule, which is rhythm. Here's the thing, all we're going to do right now is just place one note and create a rhythm from that one note. So for example, we could choose D. And now we can use this note just to create a rhythm without changing the pitches yet. You see what I'm doing here? Something like that maybe. Obviously, it sounds really bad right now, but we're gonna make it better. And now we just have to develop the idea more. So I'm just going to remove this note right here. Maybe extend this as well. And as you can see, we're following a question and answer structure. If I just play this phrase right here, this is our question, and in this section, it answers the question. This will sound more obvious a little bit later, and all I'm doing is just editing the notes and the rhythm a little bit. Okay, that sounds good enough for now. It's stupidly simple. Now we just have to change the pitches. So we could take this D and maybe put it down to G or something. So now we're starting to get somewhere. You can kind of hear it. Maybe down to the F sharp. I kind of want this melody to have the structure of going down and then the energy being brought back up again. Maybe the E. So it's starting to sound pretty decent, a lot better than before. I'm just going to take this up by an octave. And by the way, I'm at 170 BPM. I'm trying to be more versatile with these videos. So now it's a lot more obvious that we have a question and answer structure here. This is the question. If I just play this phrase, it sounds very unresolved. It feels like it's taking us somewhere, but it goes nowhere. And then if I just play this phrase, it sounds like we've got the answer to our question. Now, what's the third rule? The third rule is repetition. So we could honestly just copy this over like that. But that sounds very boring and stale, and it repeats too much. So maybe we can just variate some of the notes here, and you'll be surprised how much of a difference this actually makes. So maybe D and B. But that still sounds too similar to the last phrase. So let's put this down. That sounds pretty good. Okay, let's listen to this. And now that we followed the 4 rules, rhythm, question and answer, repetition, and variation, we could consider this the main idea of the melody. But it still sounds a little bit boring and we need to develop the idea even more. So I'm just going to make a completely separate pattern for this melody and we can just paste it here for now. Now, one thing I really like to do is have the melody actually start for the downbeat. So how we can do that is just move the melody slightly over like this and move it before the actual bass notes start. And now we have all this extra space to create something. So maybe like something like that. I'll just use it for now. You could also make it more simple, like maybe just one note if you wanted to, but I wanted to have this roll. So now if we play it, we have this rising tension that kind of introduces the melody before it actually starts. Okay, so now that we got that, I'm going to edit the melody a little bit more. So maybe this phrase. Just gonna shift the notes a little bit, just trying different rhythms. Something like that. Yeah, I like how that sounds better. And what if we took this and repeated it? So it kind of sounds robotic, especially with this piano sound. And you want to make sure your melody sounds more human, especially with these. Dang it. And you want to make sure your melody sounds more human, especially with these acoustic instruments. One way of humanizing your melody is just lowering and varying the velocities of whatever instrument it is. And we can do this for the melody as well. All I'm going to do is just kind of randomize these like that. We made this very beautiful melody just because we followed the 4 rules. So I'm actually going to extend the bass notes and maybe vary it a little bit. Okay, that's good enough. And I kind of want to make a second part of the melody. So I'm just going to copy and paste it over. We could even do some harmonies like this. Beautiful. So one important thing that you want to do, especially with these acoustic instruments, is humanizing your melody. And one way of doing that is just extending these notes out like this to create that sustained and cascading effect. See how it kind of has more of a natural feel? Okay, there we go. In the second part of the melody, we have these counter notes. These ones right here, and they're just like little details that are sprinkled on to the melody to make it more interesting. So this is already at 170 BPM. What if we just put a breakbeat loop or something? I don't really like using drum loops, but my camera is about to run out of time, so. I wasn't expecting to make something out of this, but I guess we are now. What if we just copy this part and maybe make a guitar melody or something? Okay, so now we have a little track. This is probably one of the most beautiful melodies I've ever made. If you want to make melodies like you just heard, learn FL Studio in under 2 weeks and a ton more, please check the link in the description. Alright, take action now and you'll thank yourself later. Peace.